Hello and welcome to Gundog Nation. This is Kenneth Witt, and I'm coming to you from Texas. I want you to know that Gundog Nation is more than just a podcast. It's a movement to unite those who want to watch a well-trained dog do what it's bred to do. Also, we are set out to try to encourage youth to get encouraged in the sport of gun dogs, whether it's hunting, competition, trials, hunt tests, all the above. This is a community of people that are united to preserve our heritage of gun dog ownership and also to be better gun dog owners. So if you'll stay tuned to all of our episodes, we're going to have people on here to educate you about training, about nutrition, health, anything that can make you a better gun dog owner. It's my pleasure to welcome our listeners, and please join our community. Hello, this is Kenneth Witt with Gundog Nation. Many people quickly become frustrated and confused when training the retriever. Cornerstone Gundog Academy's online courses eliminate all the guesswork by giving you a proven training system that will help you train a dog that anyone would be proud to have in their blind. Learn where to start, what to do next, and what to do when problems arise. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to learn how you can train your retriever. I have used this method myself. I have been through it a couple times with different dogs. I refer back to it lots of times when I'm trying to get dogs freshened back up for hunt test season. I highly recommend them. I have actually been a subscribed member of Cornerstone Gundog Academy since 2016, and I would suggest anyone use it. I highly recommend it. They have an app that you can get to on your phone. You can do it from your phone, your laptop. You can't get any more convenient than that. I've used it. It's proven and tried. And I know literally hundreds of people that have done the same thing that I've talked to. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com and learn how to train your own retriever. Hello and welcome to Gundog Nation. I'm coming to you live today from Midland, Texas. And I have a friend just across the pond over in England who I've really been wanting to get on here for a long time. He's very busy. We're going to really learn some stuff today as gun dog owners about training philosophy. It's a real pleasure of mine to have Mr. Ben Randall. And Ben, would you please just kind of briefly introduce yourself, because I'm gonna peel the layers back and get deep into your history and your philosophy of training.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Hello. So my name is Ben Randall, as Ken said, and I'm from the UK, based in a small country village called Herefordshire. So it's central to England, in the Midlands, we call it, in fantastic shooting, hunting fraternity. So a huge amount of pheasant shooting, gun dog training here, with big horse racing and hunting with hounds as well. So it was a very, very big shooting community we're in. I moved here 16 years ago for this environment to enable me to, progress with my dogs and really, really embrace with my two children the countryside. So yeah, it's a fantastic place we live.
Ben, what age did you get started into hunting or into dogs?
Gosh, I think it was, my father used to wildfowl. So he would be up, like 4 o'clock in the morning in the dark, getting his kit ready, his waders ready. And I would be, 6, 7, asking to go. Wasn't always allowed to go. And then when I got to about 8 or 9 or 10, he used to take me. And I used to sit next to my lab and sort of curl up with her and keep warm. And we'd be shooting ducks and geese on the foreshore. And that's what sort of got me the bug, really, even from that young age. My rugby took over a bit, I'll be honest, at times, because rugby was always on Saturdays. So that took over a bit, but it was always burning. I wanted to probably do that a little bit more. And, from then so that's, I was 50 this year, unfortunately. So that's like 40 years now. I've been in this sort of environment, really.
And Ben, if I recollect, and we're going to get into your book, but when I read about you and learn about you myself, was it Springers that you started with, showing and trialing?
It was Labradors I first started with. So okay. My uncle was a semi-professional Labrador trainer, and I used every single weekend, every holiday I had, I was staying at his. I was in charge of the kennels while he did his work. He'd come home from work lunch hours and we'd train dogs together. I'd be throwing dummies. planting blinds out. And it was my first love really was labs. So I've had a lab probably in my kennels for the last 30, 35 years. So I train labs a little bit different than most. They are, first of all, family gun dogs. So I train the ultimate family companion, which can go on 5, 6 days picking up on a shoot in the UK at 300-400 bird days. But for majority of the year, it could just chill out at home and be part of the family. We always say we've got a gun dog. Well, I always say to people, it's 365 days of the year. And we've only got a shooting season realistically from September to 1st of February. So what we can do for the rest of the year, we haven't got time with our jobs and our family and our busy lives to train a dog every day. So we want a dog that is trained with the foundations to enable us to do both disciplines, have a beautiful family companion that doesn't let us down, and also be able to go on our shoots. And some of our shoots that we have locally around here, and the big shoots I go on, are between 200 to 500 bird days. Now, to shoot 500 birds at 5, 6, 8 to 1, that's a lot of birds being produced. And the dogs have got to sit there for half an hour, 40 minutes, watching it go on before they're even released. And then once it's all the birds on the floor, the horn's gone, guns are away, we can start to collect the birds. So it takes a hell of a dog and a lot of training to enable the dog to do that, especially with novice handlers. That's the key.
Ben, I had heard you speak on a podcast, and it got my attention so well because I'm kind of a training nerd. I'm always trying to educate myself. That's why I chase guys like you to learn. But you had a strategy and a philosophy of training to me that sounded revolutionary, cutting edge to anything I'd heard before. So I was digging all over the internet trying to find out how to purchase your book. I'd heard that you just released a book. I think I even found it on a website in the UK, had it sent here. It's a very large book. And normally I would have it with me, but it's at my ranch, which is 3 hours away in another part of the state. But if you don't mind, let the listeners know the title of that book and how they can find it. And then let's talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, the book is, The Gundog, and it's for me, it's something I've wanted to do for many years, but I wasn't prepared to write a book. Even though I was asked, I wasn't prepared to write a book until I'd won at the highest level, because I do believe that so many people do write books and they're good at writing them. But I wanted the credentials behind me to say, look, I've been using this system, especially my new system, for the last 15, 16 years. And that system enabled me to win the championships back to back, which still hasn't been achieved in over 50 years by the same dog and the same handler.
Wow.
And I knew when I put my foundations together, I knew it was good, but I had to test it at the highest level. And the highest level I could test it at was the British National Championships. And I was very lucky and fortunate enough to have the right dog at the right time with the right training to win it once. And then I won it again. And I was there to win it a third time in succession with the Queen watching, and it was, phenomenal. But I let the dog down. I made a mistake, and it was my mistake. And that mistake would haunt me for a long, long time. But up to that point, she was the one to beat on that day. So the book was not going to be written by me at all until I'd had those credentials to say to people, well, look, this system works. It's worked with my retrievers for the last 30 plus years. And it's worked with my spaniels and my cockers to win at the highest level, which to me is there as proof, isn't it? It's like a full service history and a stamp on it. You can buy that car now because it's been warranted.
I totally respect that. You also have an app that people can subscribe to. It's called BG, correct?
Yeah, this is called the Gundog app. So I'll give you a little bit of a background on this. So my co-founder, Christian Forsberg, is a blue chip guy from London. He had a Cocker Spaniel. This Cocker Spaniel was extremely hard going. The pictures of Christian running around stubble fields with his wife, trying to catch the dog, trying to get the dog to come back to him, all hands and whistles everywhere. Christian is a very, very professional, very focused person, and he wanted to get this dog right because his dream, he's half Swedish, and he's grown up with hunting, but he wanted to have a hunting dog, but it wasn't going to plan at all. He had an English cocker, one of the hardest, notoriously hardest dogs to train, especially on game. So he went to multiple trainers, and multiple trainers were extremely physical with this dog and Christian. And Christian would get in the car each time after the lesson. And if I'm honest, at times almost in tears that what he witnessed and what he was told to do, he just didn't like it. And then he come across myself, had some lessons, and then lockdown hit, as it did all over the world. And I was having to send Christian videos, and I was having to earn some money because my business was closed down, 40, 50 dogs a day gone. And it was a massive stress for us. So I started teaching online globally with people, and I was sending Christian videos, sending me videos. And then we had a gap in lockdown where we opened a bit, and this guy knocked at my door and said, "Hi Ben, it's Christian. Just want to have a chat with you. I've got a proposal. Do you fancy doing a dog training app? Because the videos you're sending me are transforming my relationship with my dog. I cannot believe that I've been to all these other trainers and it hasn't worked. I'm now doing stuff online with you, and it's amazing. It's working. Can I show you?" So he showed me his dog. I was, wow, okay. I said, "Okay, we'll do it." And then a year later, 5 days a week filming, he was here every day, Monday to Friday. We filmed, we planned it out. And that was 4 years ago. And the app has been going now and used globally by thousands of people on a daily basis, all over the world, with all types of gun dogs and now even pet dogs. So it's been incredible. And I think what makes it so powerful is that the systems I'm showing you in my book and the systems I'm showing on the app are the systems I use 7 days a week and that I use to win at the highest level. So there's no tricks, there's no gimmicks. These are what I use. Many trainers used to show me over the decades how to train a dog, but they wouldn't really show me. It was bizarre. I go training with them. They sort of show me, but they wouldn't quite show me everything because maybe they couldn't show me things that they did behind closed doors, potentially. But they wouldn't show me the little tricks that I wanted to know as a young lad, wanting to learn. They wouldn't show me because they were thinking, well, it's another person to beat. Why would we show him? His dogs are good. We don't want them that good. So I had to self-learn. And I've studied human psychology for over 2 decades. And to me, that's what makes me a teacher, is because I understand the human side of things first. Many people talk about dog psychology, and we train with dog psychology and we train with a science. Well, I don't really buy into all that, if I'm honest. What science is there about a dog's brain? What science is what psychology is there about a dog? The people that are training the dog are humans. So if a trainer can understand the human psychology first and how to implement those training methods to that client and get him to understand how to implement them to the dog, why he does them, in what order he does them, and then he can teach him how to read the dog, it's a far better way of doing it than just going, it's all about the dog. To me, it's all about the owner. And once the owner understands the end goal and how to get there, and that's what the app gives you. It gives you a daily tasks to do literally every day. We've got a community now as well, which is a global community that people talk to each other. They're constantly messaging each other there. We've got our own Instagram, Instagram and Facebook system going live this week on the app. So it's our own type of Instagram and Facebook where you can post videos, post pictures, post your accomplishments, post problems. People can help you. And I think it's in this day and age, we all know what keyboard warriors are like on Facebook, whereas on our platform, Christian and I are very strict. People can only post positive things and help people. And that's quite hard in today's world. As you know, it's, everyone's will criticize everything. And this is why I had to win at the highest level before I did this. Yeah. So I can rubber stamp my methods. So, and I post on a daily basis, my dogs all over the internet, doing things, retrieving, jumping, swimming, quartering, hunting, whatever they're doing. I'm posting it regularly to show this is what I'm doing. I'm using the same methods I'm teaching you, and this is what I'm achieving. So, and a lot of people in the UK, they get 20 days holiday a year. I don't know what you get in the US, but most people get around 20 days off a year. Now, if they have a 2-week holiday with their family, that's 14 days. Now, they've only got 6 days left. So that means, are they going to spend the rest of those 6 days coming for lessons, or should they have 3 or 4 lessons a year with me, or once a month, or whatever they do on a Saturday or a Sunday, and the rest of the time, for a very small fee, they've got the app that they can train Monday to Friday. And then they come to me when they need real assistance. But most of the time, because I have a live webinar each month, they don't need assistance, because they're going on the webinar, they're talking to me, I'm explaining to them, they dive back into the app, they focus on the bits I've asked them to do, and they go and they nail it. So technology is incredible. And I think being able to help so many people every day of the week, all over the world, with every type of dog, is pretty humbling, if I'm honest.
I remember one of the first things that struck me is, and I don't know how much you want to get into it on here, but I really liked, how you approach this training style. You, if I'm correct, Ben, you used your years of rugby training,
yeah,
and your years of dog training, and kind of combined, or I guess had an idea and merged some of that together. To elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I would say for both my boys play rugby at a pretty high level, semi-professionally and hopefully professionally soon. And I coached their prep school, which was up to, I think it was about 8 to 13. And I coached the prep school 5 days a week and turned them into, in 7 years, I turned them into a team. In 7 years, I think we potentially lost 4 times in 7 years.
Wow.
I drilled them on a daily basis. But the most important thing is they had to enjoy it. If they didn't enjoy it and they didn't see a reward from it, they wouldn't give me everything. So I had to build a relationship with these kids and build a bond with them that when I turned up in my shooting briefs with my gun and my dogs in the back of the car, halfway through shooting, to give up for them and take my wellies off, put my rugby boots on, run onto the pitch, I wanted them to see me and want to be with me. I wouldn't think Mr. Randall's arrived. We need to train with Mr. Randall. I would get there some days 10 minutes late. They'd still be doing the drills for me before I even got there, warming up, doing everything I've asked them to do. All the other teachers watching the team do it. And for me, I had an incredible bond with them. Even now, when I see those kids and they're 22, 23 years old, I haven't seen them for 5 or 6 years, they come straight up to me and say, best rugby coach you ever had, the most fun we ever had. We learned the most from you because it was fun. Now, the trouble is with many rugby coaches, like dog trainers, they do too many drills. And they drill and they drill and they drill the dog until it becomes so stagnant and so bored, and they pressurize and pressurize and pressurize when it goes wrong. So give you an example. I throw the ball at a boy and he drops it. I tell him off. I smack him. I throw it at him again. I smack him. Now I put electric collar on him. And every time he drops it, I jab him. Every time he drops it, I fry him. I keep frying him every time he drops it. That kid is not going to want to do it. He's going to do it out of duress, and he's going to be made to do it. So yes, he will do it, but he won't do it with fun and enjoyment. He definitely won't do it with a respect for me. And I won't have a mutual respect for that dog either, or that child. Now, if I threw the ball and you dropped it, I said, don't matter. Doesn't matter if you dropped it. I'm going to show you how to catch it. I'm going to teach you how to use your hand and eyes to catch that ball. And after that boy has caught it a few times, the smile on his face comes. The trust that I'm teaching to do something is now working. Exactly the same with my dogs. They need to trust me. If they trust me for a period of time, the reward will always come. That might be a praise. It might be a retrieve, a jump, a hunt, whatever it is, they got to trust me. So I start from a puppy to build that trust up, just like I do when I teach rugby. There's no point in doing drills and telling and pressurizing a person, a human, a dog to do something, because they will not enjoy it. And the time they get to pull your pants down, when your back is turned, they will. The amount of times I'm judging or I'm training a client and the spaniel's hunting and quartering, it flushes a bird and moves 10, 15 foot. And I got to put them out of the competition. They go, God, if I don't do that at home. I said, of course he doesn't, because you're chasing him and telling him off at home. And now he knows you can't. And now he's going to do you in front of everybody. Where, yes, my dogs go wrong. Of course they do. They're not perfect. No dog is. But my dog wants to sit to the bird because he knows if he sits, he gets shot and he gets it in his mouth. So the trust is like, if I sit to that bird, I get it. If I move, Dad shoots it at home, goes and picks it up himself, puts it in his bag, puts me back to the same spot. I never get the retrieve unless I sit. So it's just a simple explanation. Now, obviously, I've trained in the US. I've trained all over Europe. I've judged all the European championships, Springers and Cocker Spaniels. And I've seen collars used in the US. I've sent multiple dogs to America. One of my first bitches, field trial champion, Stedrock Zetlands of Beggarbush, won over here and was a champion. I sent to a very good friend of mine. I gave him free of charge this young puppy. And I said to him, we've built up a great trust. I've been to America with you. I really enjoy the way you train. I like your temperament. And I'd like to give you this dog as a gift. And bear in mind, he was a multimillionaire. He could have bought it 10 times over, but I gave it to him as a gift. And I was only in my 20s. And I said to him, I want you to train it without a collar. You're not allowed to use a collar on it. I want you to keep it in the house for the first 6-7 months. I don't want it to go in the back. I want it to go in the front truck, on the front seat. He did all this for me, and he kept having professional trainer say to him, put it in the back, get it in the kennels. You're building too much of a bond with it. You're getting too close to it. Get the collar on it. It needs this, it needs that. But needless to say, Bill didn't do that. He kept doing. He fell in love with the dog because it was his companion, his best buddy. He built a bond that was so strong with this dog. It was incredible. Bill won the American Amateur Champion National Championships twice with this dog, Beggarbush Clipper, beating 140, 50 dogs each time he won the championships. And this was a guy that had a very high profile job, was away at work quite a lot, would come home, train Clipper, put him back in the house. The family would look after him. Yes, he did go in the kennel when he was older, but it just went to show that if he used the right methods, built the trust, someone like Bill, who was an amateur trainer at the time, was getting advice coming from everywhere, from every trainer. That's every dog we teach on a table, every dog we teach a delivery on a table. Got to have a force fetch. I've never force fetched in 35 years. There's no need to force fetch. It's complete, and that's a waste of time and energy for the person to do that. You don't need to do it, especially from a puppy, because you teach it from day one to deliver to your hand. And Bill did that. And the rest is history, really. Double amateur national championship winner twice. So, over 5 days to beat 100 plus dogs each time. So, it's pretty impressive. And he trained that dog himself. A lot of the amateurs have a professional trainer train their dogs for them, don't they? And then they're allowed to run them in the amateurs. But they don't always, as far as I remember, they don't have to train them themselves. They can get them back that morning of the championships, potentially. So Bill did it on his own with the right methods, with the right breeding, and it worked.
When your book starts up, man, and we talked a little before the show that I'm just getting into it pretty good, but you start your method. You start with feeding, correct? With puppies. Yeah. Explain that a little bit.
Well, okay. Well, I'll give you an example. So for many years, I just walk out into the kennels, ranker kennels, all the bowls, open the kennel doors, slide the bowls in. Dogs just eat the food, open it, done. And then one day, I don't know how this happened, but one day I walked into my kennel and I went to put the food down. This dog jumped up at me and I went, sit, and put the food down. And then I went into the next kennel, and I fed them as normal. Walked back to this kennel and this spaniel was sat there still. That's pretty good. Okay, I quite like this. Then I looked at the food in my hand and I went, get out, which is a retrieving command, get out. The dog ate it. So the next day I fed this dog. I made it sit in the kennel, but I made everyone else sit in the kennel. And they all sat in the back of the kennel with the doors open, put all the bowls down. They could all see me visually, and I one by one by hand with their name and a point and a direction to eat their food. And then the following day, I took them out onto the lawn, lovely cut lawn, sat them all in a line and put the food down. Made them wait a bit, went and cleaned the kennels out, come back, they all still sat there. A few moved and fidgeted, but they were getting pretty good. And then again, by hand, sent them left, right for their food. And it started to develop from then. And then I had this this young dog called Hollywood Fatty, and we know that she won the championship twice. And I had her, and I used to sit her up, and I'd send her for a bowl of food. And halfway to the food, I'd stop her with a verbal sit. I'd say, heel. She'd come back to heel. I'd teach her a heel with the food in my right hand over my left leg. She'd tap my leg. She'd follow me. Before I knew it, I was teaching the dog to go left, to go right, forwards, backwards, stop, hunt, and recall. Now, I was blown away by this. I couldn't believe what this dog was learning with 3 puppy feeds a day. It was phenomenal. Now, remember, back in the day, for 6-8 months, I couldn't get my dog to retrieve because they're too young to retrieve. Up to about 6 months old, they can only just hold a dummy properly, and they're not that good at it, and it drops, and they create issues and retrieving problems. So I was now enabling my dogs to learn stuff that probably a 16, 18-month-old dog could do by 6 months. So now my dog could go left, right, forwards, backwards, stop, leave, recall, and hunt an area. Had no idea it was doing it, but it was learning life's commands. When I then started doing some retrieving with it, when its teeth grew and it was better and it could deliver to hand, all of a sudden, the dog now could go left, right, forwards, backwards, do all of the food retrieving, but with the dummy. And I thought to myself, my God, this is incredible. I've got this young dog, 6-8 months old, is handling and directional work like a 12, 18-month-old dog. It can do everything. So I never forget taking Fatty to a very good friend of mine, a panel judge, and he said to me, "You've got to come and see this young cocker I got, Ben, 6-7 months old. Mine was 6. Mine was about the same age. So you've got to come and see this cocker." He said, "I'll have a look at yours first." So he went out into his field, started hunting her. She quartered in front of me. I threw a retrieve 50, 60 meters out into a field, straight out, straight back, sent her for another one, stopped her, called her back, pushed her for a blind, sent her back for memory. He never said a word. We walked back to us. I said, "You're going to show me mine? Yours?" He said, "It's pointless. I have never seen a dog on 4 legs as good as I've just witnessed." Now, he just couldn't believe his was just running around wild and playing and hunting, because that's all he's done with it. Because it's too young to do anything else, we all thought for decades. But now with this method, we can teach the whole of life's commands as quickly as possible without the dog even knowing it's being taught. All you're doing is feeding it. And every time that dog sees you, it's building an incredible bond with you. It wants to be with you. It wants to stay close to you. It wants to stay connected to you. It can't wait to respond to each command, because every time it responds, it gets a reward. A left, a right, a back, a recall. It's just incredible. And over the last, I think it's probably about 18 years now, over the last 18 years, I have trained hundreds and hundreds of dogs that come to me for lessons, and thousands of people over the world using the app to train this. Lots of Americans are now going over to my training, especially since the app's been live over there, since the book's now got over to the US. People are realizing that we don't leave a dog in a kennel for 6-8 months and feed it 3 times a day, and then we train it later. That's where you have the retrieving and delivery issues. That's where you have a dog yipping and barking and chasing at the dogs, and they can't get it back, and they've got to then collar train it, or they've got to condition it to do something else. But there will be people in America, there will be people in the US, in the UK that, this is how we do it. I know you do it that way, and I know that many of you have had success. But if I said to you, you can collar condition it on a table for weeks and weeks and weeks to resolve a problem, or if you do this from a puppy, you would never have to do that. It'd be weeks and weeks of your training gone. You won't have to worry about it. Also, you save yourself a fortune on electricity, charging your collars. You won't need it. So obviously, when you get an older dog and it's got real issues and problems, people say, "Well, it's impossible then, Ben, because you're training us from a puppy." And I say, "No, I'm sorry. because I get most of my clients coming to me are with older dogs with issues and problems. And what I say to them is, if a dog is pulling and hunting, when they're quartering and the dog keeps pulling and they blow the whistle, it doesn't turn, or it pulls too far and they flush a bird out of gun range, how do I sort this, Ben? I said, right, there's no quick fix to this. Your dog is pulling for a reason. It's because it doesn't respect you. It doesn't trust you. It probably doesn't walk to heel that well. It probably doesn't stop on the whistle that well. It definitely doesn't turn on the whistle. And you haven't taught it, it finds things close to you. So that's not the issue, the pulling bit. The other bits are all those other bits are adding up to the final bit of the pulling. So when someone comes to me and say, my dog's jumping up, and why is it jumping up? I need to stop that. Of course I can stop that dog almost instantly in a training session for jumping up. However, he's jumping up for a reason, because it doesn't respect the owner. It doesn't walk on the lead. It doesn't walk off the lead. It doesn't come back when it's called, and it begs for food and it jumps up for food. So once we sort all those issues out, all of a sudden it doesn't jump up at you anymore. So it's just going back and reprogramming the dog. It's like having a computer that's got a load of viruses, and we just keep using it and keep using it. It keeps going wrong and wrong and wrong. Take it down to Apple Store. They blank the memory completely, reboot it. You got your brand new computer. Now it's down to you now not to get any more viruses on it. So to me, it's worked with not one dog, not two dogs, but thousands. So I know it works, and I'd argue till I was blue in the face to anybody that the system works. And if I could help you do it differently, you should try it. And if someone said to me, Ben, I've got a new way of training, it's better than yours, I would be the first person to listen, the first person to try it. I have tried everything other than electric collars. I've tried the place boards. I've tried every method you can think of over the last 30, 40 years. When I started trying this method, it completely shocked me. I was so excited. I kept it under covers. I wouldn't tell anybody about it. And people were asking. I just kept it quietly, training on my own. And then in the end, obviously I was giving lessons and people starting to see it. And then I had all the success, and I thought, right, now I've had the success. Now is the time to tell everyone about this, because it is just phenomenal. And I've got 3 cocker puppies at the moment, all about 10, 11 months old. And they've gone through sort of 9 months of this training. And what they are doing for 10 months, 11 months is phenomenal. They're all house trained. They all sit and stay. They all walk to heel on and off the lead. They all retrieve. They all do little blinds. They stop on the whistle. They go left and right. And they're Cocker Spaniels. It's just phenomenal. And when I'm training them myself, even I get shocked each time. And I'm doing it like a conveyor belt, dog after dog after dog. And it shocks me how quickly they train. So, yeah, it is a method that I'm extremely proud of. And I just love watching people using it. And these are novice people as well, most of the time, that are using it. Obviously, lots of professionals have got the app. We can see on the back end who subscribes and uses it. And obviously, a lot of people do. And you can see now all over the internet where people are demonstrating their dogs doing things. I know they've used my methods to get to that goal, which is very humbling for me, thinking, well, I've managed to change this person's viewpoint, and they're older than me, done it longer than me, and I've changed their view on it. There was a chap called Professor Simon Allison who wanted to write a book with me, but he got a little bit ill in the end and probably a little bit old, and he won't like me saying that, but in the end I wrote the book for him wrote it without his help, but he inspired me to do it, if I'm honest. And he is now in his 80s, and I sent him a copy of the book, and what he sent me back was, brought tears to my eyes, to all of us, really. It was incredible. He's basically, long story short, Ben, I've been doing this for around 60 years, 50, 60 years, and I've trained every way you could possibly think of. You have transformed the way I look at my dogs, to transform the way I train my dogs. I sold him a fully trained Springer Spaniel dog that was trained with my methods. He ran it in a field trial with John Bailey judging, who's the chairman of the Kennel Club now, so a very experienced judge. And I remember John telling me, this old boy comes in with a stick, hobbling along, He cast this dog off, Ben. It went left and right, no whistle for 50, 60 meters, 100 meters. He kept going, still no whistle. Flushed a bird on the lake, straight out, straight back. Flushed a bird over a wall, straight out, straight back. Second run, did the same, hardly any whistle. Dog was with him completely. And he won the trial. And that's the first trial he's won in over a decade, because all the other dogs he had, he trained the other way. So it was very humbling to help someone of that age that has done it that way for so long, with very experienced people helping him and teaching him. And I said to him, surely you enjoy this dog more. Every time you take him out, there's a smile on your face. You're building a bond and a partnership with this dog. You're not having to bully him, smack him, tell him off, do nasty things to him. He's not trying to do you in any way every time you take him out. He's trying to please you. And he said, Ben, you are completely right. It's a pleasure every day to take him out. He's given me a complete and utter new lease of life at 70 plus. So yeah, things like that is why I teach, and why we develop the app and the book, and is why I teach every day.
Man, it's a little bit changing gears, but I'm just curious, because you have so much experience and you've worked with different breeds. Of the Gundog breeds that you've trained, is there one that you find that's more intelligent than the others, or is it just each dog is different?
I think the Cocker Spaniel is the most intelligent, naughty, arrogant little shits you've ever stood behind. And the reason they're so intelligent is because they want it so much. So I had some South Africans come over, big hunting guys come over to in January to hunt with me, and they wanted to shoot woodcock and pheasant over my dogs. So they come all over from South Africa. I arranged for them to walk in line with us on a very prestigious sporting estate in the UK called Radley Hall. And they walked behind me, and my dogs were hunting. And my young cocker, about 16 months, I put it on the internet actually not a while ago. She flushed a hen bird. The hen bird got up, and the South African guy shot it and clipped it, hit the floor, and it ran like a stag, gone. And I want you to imagine it's all bracken with patches of bramble, flattish area. And he said, Ben, it's gone. So my cocker hadn't seen it down. So I sent her stop to 2 directions. He said, that's it, she's on the fall. And the dog went on the fall. You could see the dog moving and twisting. And all of a sudden the dog was gone. And it felt like an age. It was probably only minutes, but it felt like an age. And he said, Ben, it's gone. It's right up the woodland. Next thing you know, this cocker's coming back with it in its mouth, fully alive, hen bird, straight back, delivers the hand. They still talk about it now. They cannot get over how he did it. And I said to him, that's the first live bird that dog has ever had. Wow. This is the second day shooting it's ever had. And it just did it. Now, if I'd have had a Labrador, it would have taken all day to have worked it out. And then by that time, the bird would have been gone. A Spaniel, Springer Spaniel, potentially would have, but nowhere near as natural and wanted it as much. I think it's because the cocker winded it, scented it. That's mine. I'm having it. Whatever happens, that's mine. And so I think they are the ultimate all-round shooting dog. But the Labrador, for me, the Retriever, is the ultimate gun dog. You know, it's one that I can.
Why is that?
Well, it's because the handler can never be there 24 hours a day. So when you've got a family gun dog, you've got your wife, the husband, the housekeeper, the nanny, the kids, the grandparents. Everyone can look after this dog because it's so level-headed, it's so relaxed, it's so easy to train. I can normally train 2 to 3 Labradors to 1 cocker because they're that easy. They naturally just do everything, but they do it at a certain miles per hour. They do it, and you've got to coach them and help them and drill them every day to do the same thing, get them better and better at it. Whereas a Cocker Spaniel they just want it so much. I know that Cockers aren't as big in the US. Springers are, and Springers obviously equally as good. But a Cocker on a runner is one of the most incredible things to witness. I remember 2 years ago on an estate. I want you to imagine that we shot a bird that landed on a ploughed field. which was frozen solid, -2, -3, white. We got out to the field and the gun shouted, "Ben, that bird landed. It's a black, dark, melanistic hen, and it's landed 40, 50 yards. You can see the feathers." He said, "But it's gone 200-300 yards under the fence up into woodland. It's gone." So I had a young black cocker bitch, which was quite good on runners, and I sent her out. She took a line, went off up the thing, up under the fence, up into the wood, and I would say she was gone half an hour. We stopped and had a drink and something to eat, and I was thinking, well, I've completely lost this dog. I'm never going to get it back. It's gone. And we were all chuckling and joking. I was quite embarrassed. Then one of the gamekeeper shouts on the radio, "There's a cocker coming down the hill with a dark hen in its mouth." And the cocker climbed underneath. I remember it like it was like we're doing it now, me and you, Ken. And it underneath the barbed wire fence, back across the field, exactly the same hen, black, dark, melanistic hen, fully alive. And I thought to myself, that was in there for a quarter of an hour, half an hour, whatever it was. It was in there for an age, taking a line, trying to find it. Phenomenal. There's not a Labrador in the country that could have done that. Not after that delay.
Hello, this is Kenneth Witt, and Gundog Nation is proud to have one of their sponsors as Retriever Training Supply, based in Alabama. Retriever Training Supply offers fast shipping on quality gear. Your dog will love it. Visit retrievertrainingsupply.com to purchase gear to help you train your retriever. Listen, they have some of the best leashes I've ever found. It's stuff's made in America. Their leashes are, and they source them locally. They have anything you want, fast, friendly service, fast shipping, just good people. Retriever Training Supply.
You know, Ben, I've just been doing this since probably mid-September. So I've had a lot of, guests on here, and it's so interesting. And you're just kind of reinforce what I'm trying to say. I've had so many guests that own cockers, and they're actually probably retriever people, lab people. And they've got a cocker and they hunt with it, and everybody loves them.
Yeah.
The popularity seems to really be growing here, and there's getting to be a lot of good dogs coming out of the UK here. There's some good breeders in the States now that are getting dogs from there, but they're really catching on, and it's for all the reasons you just said.
Yeah, I've got lots of inquiries in the US because I've got probably a good half a dozen dogs here that I'm getting ready for this season, and I've got lots of inquiries about my cockers in the US at the moment. Especially now Trump's taking all your tax away from you, so everyone's got a load more money, apparently.
Yeah, thank God. I don't get into politics much on here, but you can probably imagine my views. But yes, living in Texas. But no, it's one of the things too, and I always like asking questions with people like you that's got so much experience. And so, the experience you've got, there's many dogs you train per day. And for many years, it's just there's no school in the world could teach that. There's no substitute for that.
No.
What you have to be an expert. I know you're not probably educated in dog nutrition or veterinary science, but you have to be an expert in dog nutrition. What's some of your advice? What have you found over the years that works the best for you?
No, I have tried everything, and I always say to my vet I'm seeing, just to give you an understanding, we run a luxury boarding kennels. So we have clients from every background, David Beckham, Gordon Ramsay, A-list celebrities, come here with their dogs, from my local builder, farmer, to an A-list celebrity. So everything you could think of. They feed everything you could imagine to their dogs, from cakes to cooking food, everything. So my wife and I and my father and my son, we are feeding up to 50 dogs a day for 16 years. So I want you to do 16 years on average. If you said 30 dogs a day times 16 years times 365 days a year, that works out well over 100,000 dogs we've fed, plus mine for the last 30 years. So when they come in and say, my vet says feed this, I said, don't listen to your vet. He probably don't even own a dog. And my vet always smiles at me when I say that, because he owns one spaniel and he hasn't got a clue about what to feed a dog. And I always tell him he only feeds what the vets get given, because they get
a discount. Yeah.
So what works? I don't really know. Every dog is individually different. One thing I will say is I'm a spaniel handler, really, and I am paranoid about noise, because if my dog makes one minute noise, and I'll give you an example of the sounds, I go, when I cast it to hunt it, I'm out the competition. By the time I get home, most of the UK, most of the world knows my dog's made a noise. And then that's affected my breeding program, which is crazy, really, because every dog will make a noise every so often. And I know it's not a big thing in the US. So a lot of that will be training induced, breeding induced, but a lot of it also will be diet.
Really?
So the higher the protein, the higher the fats, the higher the oils will get a dog to be a bit hyper, a bit more highly strung. So I know in the US they feed like Eukanuba, very high in protein, very high in fats, and that will be like rocket fuel to my dogs. It's like I do a lot of myself and my sons train lots. We weight train, work out lots. So my protein intake is huge per day. I would say it's, I don't know, 160, 80 grams of protein per day. So I'm having a lot of protein. That doesn't make me squeak and jump around and run around, but what it does is build muscle. And the more muscle that dog builds, the fitter it gets, the faster it gets, the higher the drive becomes, the harder it is to maintain it. And then because it's so fit, so fast, so wired, it then can't contain itself and then makes a noise or runs in. So there's probably a big thing I used to do wrong back in the day. I used to overtrain my dogs. They were too fit, too fast, and then they would go wrong. So like my dogs have just had a good 5 weeks off, the whole of February. I went on a holiday to Maldives, come back, relaxed. Dogs have all put a bit of weight on. They all look healthy. I'm slowly getting them back into a bit of work now, but not really worried about it because we're only in March. So by mid-March, end of March, I'd have got them a little bit fitter. And then I've got April, May, June, July, August. By the end of August, they'll be pretty fit. Partridge season in the UK starts in September. By the end of September, they'll be absolutely on fire, ready for October, November, December, January for the championships, for trials, or for my shoot days. So I build them up like an athlete. So I feed by eye. I feed a complete food, fish-based, but as I say, I feed everything every day of everything you could possibly imagine. I feed a little bit of raw to my puppies with their puppy kibble. Something I've always done, and I quite like it. My puppies poo rock hard, firm poo, which makes it a lot easier. I don't ablid feed them and leave the food down so they can just gorge. I want them to see me from 4 weeks of weaning. I want them to see me as the person that gives them something they love. So time I start feeding them at 4 weeks, time they're 5 weeks, they know my sound. And when I go into the kennels, I use a recall whistle. The whistle's in my mouth. I'm using it constantly as they're eating. And then when they get to 6 weeks old, I open the door and stand outside the whelping kennel, and I use the whistle. They come running. When they're 7 weeks old, they're following me half a mile around the paddock if I wanted them to, with the whistle like the Pied Piper. And they just follow me and follow me. And then when they start eating, I start using the hump whistle. Even at that age, 8 weeks old. So by the time they go to their new client, I say to the client, when they're this big, I say, right, they all recall perfectly, and it walks to heel, and they laugh at me. And I say, I'll show you. So I get a bowl of food with 2-3 bits of kibble in my right hand, and I shake it over my left knee, and I tap my leg and say heel, and the puppy follows me all up my yard, all the way back to them. I say, there you go. And then I walk away when the puppy can't see me, and they hold it. I say, put the puppy on the floor, and I get the whistle, and I go, and I shake the bowl, and the puppy comes straight to me. And I say, I've already done this for you. You've already started the tap the left leg and the word heel, and it already understands the recall whistle, and it's 8 weeks old. Now, here's the app. You get the app free of charge for 12 months. Here's my book. Here's my puppy. Go and transform that dog's life and your family life with this dog. Don't come back to me in 6 months saying, it won't walk to heel, it won't sit and stay, it's chasing, can't get it back, it won't deliver. That's because you've let it be wild for 6 months. So train it like this and you'll have an incredible hunting, shooting companion for a decade plus.
Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. I was you just reminded me of something that I recall from your book, which I read a lot. So if I get it mixed up, please correct me. But was there an excerpt in there where you talk about giving a pup or a dog too much freedom?
Yeah. So this again is, I must be that puppy's world. So from 8 weeks old, I am that world of that puppy. But there's 5 things a spaniel wants to do, and a Labrador, but more so a spaniel: find it, chase it, catch it, kill it, eat it. And when they're really good at those 5 things, they develop a 6th, not come back when asked. So if I was to give you an example, you take your dog out, this is pets as well. They take their dog out in the morning and they let it off the lead. They take it out in the evening, they let it off the lead. That's a minimum of, without toilet breaks, mind, that's a minimum of 60 sessions a month. They've taught that dog in the first month of owning it to find its own enjoyment without them. 60 times. On top of that, they've let it run around the garden like a lunatic 6-8 times a day. So we're probably now in a couple of 100 times in the first 8 weeks, 12 weeks, that dog has found its own enjoyment. So they get to like 4 or 5 months old. It's now done it 1,000+ times. The dog is finding its own enjoyment. And you go, come on, come to me. Rico, why? You've let me and develop and hone my hunting skills on a daily basis in excess of hundreds and hundreds of times on a daily basis. I do not need you. So for the rest of that dog's life, now you're going to battle against its thoughts because it's honed its hunting skills. It's got good at them. It's got better at them. So with me, yes, I let it be a puppy. It sleeps most of the day. It plays with toys in the kitchen. It chills out. But every time I take it out for a toilet, it goes to toilet. It can't wait to go to a wee. It can't wait to go to poo and get back to me. Because when it gets back to me, I'm doing stuff with it. And when I take it out and play with it, hunting wise, it might have a small, I normally use a small sponge with a little, like a Brillo pad. And I flick it in the grass and I cover their eyes and I teach them the hunt whistle and start hunting for it. They find it and they hear the hunt whistle, they hear the recall whistle, and I clap my hands and move my fingers like a lure. And they see my fingers like a lure and they come straight out to my fingers and I touch their face and take it out the mouth. And every day that pup is with me. Every time I see it, I put 2 hands down like a cricket wicket keeper and I let it put its head to my hand, and it's called BG, head to hand. And this is why I've never had to use a retrieving table. Even though I put it on the app, I put it on there for a reason, to show people I don't have to use it. Every time that puppy or my dog see me, they see 2 hands and they put their heads into my hand. So I want you to imagine that puppy's put his head into my hands a couple of 100 times in the first 4 weeks. And then all of a sudden I chuck it a sponge. It picks the sponge up, it hears a sound that means recall, because that's what happens when I hear that noise. I go to that person. And then he sees my hands. Oh, I put my head into his hands. It forgets it's got a dummy in its mouth, comes straight and gives me its head. I slowly stroke it. I slowly take the dummy out of his mouth. I've cracked it. Every time that dog sees me, I'm going to put my head into his hands. So I've psychologically tricked that dog. You do that every time. The other way around, the dog's wild, running around, playful. You throw a dummy for it, it picks it up, it drops it, it runs off with it, won't come back to you with it. Right, retrieving table. Let's hitch it up on a thing. Let's put a collar on it. Let's force retrieve it. There's no need to do any of that. This is a new way of doing it that I've done for 16, 18 years. And I've done it the old way. This is the new way of doing it, and it works. And it works almost 99.9%. It works. I've not had a dog that it won't work on. So for me, it's 100%. And my clients are really just novice clients, lots of them. And what my novice clients can do are incredible. My ladies are better than my men, because like us blokes, I always use this analogy. You have IKEA in the US, don't you?
Yes, sir.
So if you and I went, Ken, me and you went to IKEA and bought a table, I guarantee you we wouldn't use instructions. We'd have 3 screws left at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my wife would put all the screws out in a line, get the instructions out. She'd have no screws left, and the table would last. But it wouldn't with the bloke. So when my lady clients come to me, they do everything I ask them to do, inch by inch, book by book, read the cover to cover. They come back to me, and I cannot believe what they can achieve. It's phenomenal. But I also think that ladies have an amazing bond with their dogs, better than men, and they really do bond with them and build a trust with them. So yeah,
I've said it a lot of times, they're better trainers in general by a long shot.
I think they are.
But yeah. And it's that attention to detail, like you say.
It is, yeah. And it's that compassion. They don't want to be rough. They want to do it with fun, and they want to enjoy their time with that dog.
Being the most enlightening thing to me is what you just talked about in your book. I'm not going to reiterate it, but I thought, I'm 56 years old. I've fooled with dogs most of my life heavily. I've done protection work and stuff, and I don't consider myself a pro trainer by any stretch. However, I've read all kinds of books. I've been to seminars and schools. And when I read what you wrote in the book about not allowing, them to have that freedom, that uncontrolled freedom, and the damage that it does, it just threw a light bulb on me, and I feel so stupid. I was like, I do this, I own a ranch, and I turn my pups loose, and then when they won't come back to me, just like you said. So that's probably and I haven't even gotten that far in your book yet. I thought if I didn't read any more in this book, that was worth every dollar that it cost me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that dog is going to want to be with you, and you've got to want to be with it. Simple as that.
Do you ever come to the States and do seminars?
Yeah, I used to come over quite a bit with Bill and a guy called Martin Ibbs, a very big trainer over there. I used to come over, probably been over 4 or 5 times, and another guy called Mark. I used to come over with Mark quite a bit, but it's just obviously when I had Fatty, I was getting really into I wanted to win with her. I also then bought the boarding kennels with my young family 16 years ago. So for the last 16 years, there's some I've not been back over because of that, because it's just too far to come with the kennels. I go to Denmark lots, and I judge the Danish championships twice, the Swedish championships, the Finnish championships, the Belgium championships, but that's like a 4-hour flight. And I go over there to teach. So I really enjoy teaching in Denmark. They are very, very professional. Their attitude is fantastic. They all want to learn. I go over there to teach them the BG foundations. I go over there to teach them also how I judge. So we did a really interesting thing last year. I had, I think, 6 or 8 of the top judges in Denmark all walk with me behind dogs that were hunting. And I asked them in twos to take control of that dog and handler. And I supervised. And then at the end of that run, all the 8 judges, or however many it was, had to write their books on what they saw and give a mark. And then when they all marked, I called them name by name individually, and they had to read out what they wrote and the mark they gave. And then we went on to the next dog. We spent 3 or 4 hours doing this. And it was amazing to watch the difference in that guy and that guy, because they weren't copying each other. I was just making them read it out, which was pretty hard, if I'm honest, because it's been embarrassing for some people. But some guy was given an A+, and I said, well, I've not given an A. I've given 2 A+ in 20 years. So why did you give an A+? And then the other guy's given an A-, a really bad mark. Why have you given that? Well, he did this and this. Well, I disagree with you. Have you thought of this? Oh, I never thought of that. Actually, I think, you're right, Ben. It shouldn't have been an A-. It shouldn't be. So I'm trying to educate their judges, and helping them educate, and they're really good. They're so professional. And what the most important thing is, they are so keen. They want to learn. And I think I'm prepared to learn something new every day. And that's what makes me a good trainer. And it is what makes me successful in my businesses, because I want to learn and be better than I was yesterday. And I think the most important thing is, I only ever compete against me.
Yeah.
I don't compete against anyone else. As far as I'm concerned, no one else matters to me. All I compete against is me every day. If I can get better each day by a little percentage, that's better. And if I can get better and better and better, then I'm probably going to be better than most of them. But, a dog is a leveler, and you could have the best dog. I got two fantastic dogs at the moment, as good as I've ever owned, as good as I've ever trained. I ran them both last year at the end of the season. They're young dogs, and they both had seconds. Massively frustrated I didn't get first in both of them, but we won't go there. But I know that they are very, very good, and I was pipped at the post in 2 competitions. But they were young, inexperienced, and they're going to be so much better next year. So, I put a lot of pressure on myself as well to win. But anything could go wrong, especially in the UK. It's very different than the US trials, very different. The US trials, they're set up, you've got a course, there's a bird dropped out in front of you, you know roughly where the bird's going to be. In the UK, as I've said to you, you could flush a woodcock, turn, flush a hare, flush a rabbit, flush a pheasant, flush a partridge, send your dog for a retrieve. On the way out, it flushes 5 pheasants. It's got to sit to them. You push it left, it flushes a rabbit off its nose. Leave the rabbit, pick the bird. It's incredible.
Yes.
And that's when Bill Willett and Martin Hibbs came over to the UK. They came to watch my champion, which was the mother to Beggarbush Klepper, who won the American Championships. They came to watch her compete, and they couldn't believe she was flushing woodcock, and they were shooting woodcock left, woodcock right, pheasant down, hare down. It was phenomenal. At Holcombe Hall, a very prestigious estate in Norfolk, wild birds only. It was phenomenal. And that's when I said to him, what do you think? He couldn't believe what he'd witnessed. And that's when I gave him a crate and a dog when he left to go back to the airport. That was many years ago. It was about 20 years ago now. But I got fond memories of that, and fond memories of that dog being trained completely different on the front of his ute, the front of his truck. Not in the back, in the house. It was just, the fond memories of sort of changing someone's mindset when everyone else was in his ear saying do it one way. He blocked them out and did it that way. So very, very good.
Now, Ben, do you train dogs for? I know. Well, maybe I don't know. You breed also, correct?
Yeah. So I'm a 5-star licensed breeder. In the UK, we've got to be licensed. We're supposed to be. Many aren't. But because I'm a licensed boarding kennels, they know me, so I've got to be licensed. And I only breed for myself, really. But I breed my Labradors probably 1 to 2 litters a year. I normally keep between 2 to 4 pups, and I keep them for 12 months. I either sell them to a client as a puppy, and then I train them on, or I sell them as a 12-month-old dog with hips and elbows, all the tests completed. And then when that person buys that dog off me at 12 months, or they buy it as a puppy, they'll have around 12 months of videos. So they are basically going through the whole process with that dog with me for 1 month to 12 months. So if I've got that puppy for 12 months, and at the end of 12 months, it's 14 months old, because I've trained it for 8 weeks, and it's retrieving, it's been on its first shoot, maybe 14 months old, whatever. And they've got the whole video process for a year. They've probably got 300-400 videos to watch for that dog. For example, one of my young puppies at the moment is 11 months old, and my puppy trainer, I've got a couple of puppy trainers that work for me, and they, like a racehorse trainer, you can't train them all, unfortunately. Okay. So I've got a couple of people that work for me, and they're very, very good at, they do my foundations on the app to exactly how I want it. So when they come back to me, every command I tell them they understand. They're fully house trained. Now, the one cocker, I have nearly 400 videos of that cocker. So imagine selling that cocker to somebody and giving them a diary of 400 videos from 8 weeks to 12 months. So they know everything that there is to know about that dog. They've watched it learn, they've watched it train. I don't know anyone else that does this. So I've made it my goal that every dog I train, I keep a diary of. And I can go back and find all those videos, put them all together, collate them together, and give them to that new owner. And it's quite a special thing, that.
Ben, is that diary also instructional? Does it show you training? I mean, what I'm saying is, could I buy that? Say I bought a pup from you, and I got the catalog of videos with the pup. Could I watch those videos and use it to train maybe another pup myself?
Yeah, definitely could. And a lot of the times on the videos, I put, say, a group together, and I just do a talk over. So really simple. This is why I'm doing this. Watch the puppy. I've sent the puppy left. It's gone right. Watch what I do. This is how I correct it. And you see me go out. I do this. I don't know anyone else in the world that does that sells puppies. So that person's got, I call it the service history. When you buy a car, an old classic, you don't want to just buy the logbook. You want every receipt, every job that's been done on that car, so you know it's a good one. And I think with a dog, it's very similar for me. I want to make sure that they see that and they can see everything I've done with it. I've just got one going next week, which is a train bitch, and I think I've got a 6-minute video on a day at the end of last season on a 580 bird pheasant day, and she picked up on 2 drives, and I videoed the 2 drives that she picked up on, and she must have had 50, 60 retrieves. Sat there like a statue, went when told, picked runners, jumped ditches. I've got it all on video. And when my client asked me what I had available, I sent them the video and they bought it straight away, because it's there, isn't it? Right there, proof on video. This is what you can do. And I think if I hadn't have had the app and Christian hadn't have educated me on how powerful a video is, I probably wouldn't have any of these videos. But I video absolutely everything. My camera's with me constantly videoing my dogs.
And that's time consuming, isn't it? I mean,
massively. My wife, I think I upgraded my phone last week to the new iPhone 16 Pro Max. I had, I think, 28,000 videos on there. I know, let alone the pictures would double that. But it's something I do on a daily basis. Now, I've been out training today with a Labrador, a Spaniel, and a Cocker, and I videoed them all. And then I go back and I look at it, and I can learn a lot from the videos, and I can see mistakes that the dog's making and maybe I'm making, and I use them to learn myself as well.
Excellent. I love that. Do you train any other breeds? I know you probably got your hands full with the Spaniels and Cockers. I mean, the Spaniels and Labs.
HPRs I do a bit with, but not a great deal. What I do with HPRs is I teach them to be Labradors as youngsters. So again, with an HPR, what they tend to do with the pointers, they tend to hunt them first, and they get great ranges, and they hunt beautifully, and they go on point, and they flush birds, and they retrieve them lovely. But then they ask them to pick a retrieve, and they can't mark it. They ask them to pick a blind, they can't pick a blind. Dog won't stop on the whistle. So I say to them, look, the dog's always going to hunt. So we will do a small amount of hunting, but mostly we're going to be doing hill work, steadiness, directional work, marking drills, blinds. So now you've got this dog that can do all the things a retriever can do at an HPR skill level. And then we teach you to hunt. And then after a month or so of hunting, the hunting becomes as good as all the other HPRs in the group, in the competition. But what this dog has got now above all the other HPRs, it marks like a Spaniel, straight there, straight back. It handles like a Labrador, stop, left, right, forwards, backwards, picks it. Now it wins everything because he's got the package. But so I don't hunt my Springers or Cockers or HPRs first. I teach them to be Labradors first. And once I've got them good enough at doing all the things I want, then I start to teach them to hunt for bulls and game. And when I'm teaching them to hunt for bulls and game, because I've got such an amazing bond with them, because they understand the commands in just absolutely 100% trust the commands, when they go on game, they flush a pheasant, I go, sit, and they sit. I go, leave, heel, leave. They come straight back to me because they understand that command. They don't even know what a pheasant is. But if I taught them to flush pheasants first like I used to, and then they chase them and I had to go chase them myself, catch them, drag them back, tell them off, not allowed to do that, then I teach them to retrieve. They don't want to retrieve, they want to hunt because they've had their success that way round. So it takes me maybe a month or so longer to get my dog ready to shoot over for a competition. But when I got them ready, my dog does everything else. But the other way round, I used to do it. The other way round, many of my colleagues do it, is they hunt first, retrieve second. And I think people are now realizing that there's no point in having a Formula One car that goes 200 miles in a straight line if you can't take the bends.
Absolutely.
Simple.
One of the things I was going to ask you a while ago, the pup that you just sold, you're referring to, and then had about 50 retrieved, and you had the videos with it to go to the client, the buyer. How are your dogs usually when you take them out to retrieve on a real hunt like that?
It's how long's a piece of string, really. It depends. It's like a human being. Is when are you ready to take that on? My dogs are always a lot younger, and I love to use January as my tester month. So January is the last month of the shooting season in the UK. So normally in January, I've got a load of youngsters in the car. It just normally works out that way when you make them in spring and they come around and they're too young at the start of the season. And they're always with me on the shoot, and I get them out at lunch breaks and I let them have a little play and say hello to people and a bit of hill work. I give them a few dead birds and they pick them and they're okay with that. And then when I get to January, I think, right, I need to just tick a box. And the box means good with shot, picks cold game, picks warm game. If they're good enough and I trust them and advanced enough, maybe they can pick a few flappers. Very rarely will I give them a runner, but a couple of strong flapping hen birds, a few small running partridges, and maybe a strong cock if I think they're experienced and mature enough. They might be 15, 16 months. They might be 10, 12 months old. I know that I had two, the shoot I'm talking about was 1st of February last year. And for one drive, I took two red cocker bitches out. And they were, I'm guessing now, so they're 2 now. So they would have been about 11 months old. And I took them on one of the busiest drives you've ever seen. There was birds just coming over, filling the sky, birds landing everywhere. And they sat there off the lead and didn't move a muscle. And individually, they had one retrieve each, straight there, straight back, and delivered to hand. I put them back on the lead, put them in the car, and went, phew, thank God for that. It went well. Put them in the car, and then I trained them right through spring, set all the way round to this season, and they were ready. But I knew that it was just an opportunity that you shouldn't miss. Because in the UK, when that season finishes, we can't shoot any more birds. Okay. So we can't do the pigeons like you do because we're just not allowed. So it's very hard for us out of season. Obviously, we can go and flush lots of birds because there's still thousands on the ground left. But what we can't do is shoot them. So it's an opportunity that I always try and juggle around so I can have 2 or 3 young dogs to give as much experience as I can that last couple of weeks of the season.
And you can't shoot pen raised birds either, right? Like domesticated raised. Okay.
No, nothing like that. No, unfortunately.
Man, the question I had, because I think I've been wrong about this concept, but are you guys not allowed to own e-collars in the UK or use them, or am I wrong about that?
No. So I think it's I think in Wales, I might be wrong. I think in Wales they're banned, and they're being banned now in the UK.
Okay.
So not yet, but they are.
Okay.
Because they're used incorrectly. Look, I know that there will be some Americans listening to this going, "What does he know? What does he know?" Trust me, I know. I've seen them used in the US, and I've seen them used very well. I've seen them used with a small nick and a small pinch type feel because I've put the collar on myself and felt it. So it's a very, very powerful tool if used right and if used correctly. The trouble is, who uses it correctly? Hardly anybody. I've seen them trying to fry a dog at full power, dog running in with its head twisting and yipping with pain, but still picking the bird. So it's like having a young boy and the dad beating it. The boy gets hardened to it and he just absorbs it, and he still misbehaves because he knows he's got a beating coming, but he can take it because he's had it multiple times. So look, I know that correction at that particular point is very powerful. So I have methods that I use without any negativity that I use, and I do it silently. So if I give an example, if your dog's pulling you when it's hunting and you turn it on the whistle and you press the collar and it nicks it and the dog understands, what happens then is that very, very quickly in the US and in the UK, the dog will become collar wise. You'll train every day with that collar on. You'll get to the competition. The dog will jump. You'll open the back of the truck. and all the dogs were waiting to put the collars on. All of a sudden, you don't put the collar on that dog. You take it to the competition, you use a turn whistle, and it turns the first 5 or 6 turns. Then it pips and it doesn't turn, it doesn't get a jab, it doesn't get nicked, it doesn't get a pinch, it doesn't turn. And then the turning gets worse and worse in each run. And then when they come back in, they go and train them in the training fields before the second series, they put the collar on them again. They go out, the dog behaves once or twice, then it realizes it's not got it on. And after 2 or 3 trials, they can become trial wise and collar aware. And then you're stuffed. So just one quick example of what I would do when my dogs are hunting and it's pulling me. What I do is I run as fast as I can, completely silently, and I arrive. And the dogs are, oh my God, where have you come from? And I look at the dog and I got the whistle in my mouth and I do the turn whistle. Sharp pip right down to its face. I put the lead on, nothing harsh. I walk the dog all the way back to where I started and cast it off. Sit it up. I do my BG correction, my left hand over the eyes, no pressure, right hand under the chin, and I do the whistle once more. I take the lead off. I pause, relax, cast dog off again. Normally, if I do that twice in a session, that dog is hunting as hard as its foreleg can move its body. And when it's casting left or right, it's got an eye on me because it never knows when I'm coming. Not to hurt it, but to stop it doing what it wants and to take the endurance away from it until it does what it wants. And then the dog starts to realize if I stay connected and stay with one eye on him, every time I just cast an eye every so often and I see his hand go left and hand go right, I get to continue my hunting pattern. I get to flush a bird. I get to get a reward. So do you know what? I'm going to continue doing this. So it's a simple process, but remember, if the dog is pulling me, it's because I probably missed some other things in its training. The respect, the trust. It doesn't understand the whistle properly. I've probably made some shortcuts. It's not just the dog pulled and it's an easy fix. It's because I probably made shortcuts and I'm too excited to shoot over it. So I've shot over it too early, which is the cardinal sin, isn't it? Especially for us blokes. We're like, oh, we're ready. Let's shoot over it. Where the ladies are like, no, we're not ready. Ben said we're not ready yet. We've got to flush 20 birds before we shoot one. So there is where the mistakes are made.
Interesting. Well, I started out using the app and I just got so busy. I've lost the habit of, I've got too many irons in the fire, but I'm going to get back on it. I'm going to finish the book. I've really enjoyed thus far. Matter of fact, I actually went back and I had to put it down for about a month or so, and I went back and reread everything over again. And the part that I probably have read 5 times is the one about, letting your dogs loose and just out of control and play. And I thought, wow, that's one I've nipped in the bud if it's not too late.
It won't be too late.
Okay, that's what I was going to. That was the last question I was going to ask you. So, say I've got a dog that's 8 months old, and I haven't been using your methods. Is there still hope?
Massively. So, you got to re-sow a seed. So I look at it. The dog's had its own way, and it's learned that behavior. So all I'm going to do is not allow it to have that behavior again, and relearn the new behavior, and actually have more fun doing that. So if you go out with that 8-month-old dog, you put it on the lead, you take it out to confined area and you play with it and you teach it to sit for its feed times. You teach it to recall for its food times. You teach it to retrieve a little sponge and things back to in a confined area. You do that 2-3 times a day. Before you know it, that dog cannot wait to see you, Dad. Where are you, Dad? My dad, me and him doing something together. Bugger the rest of them. I'm not interested in running around like a headless chicken in the countryside. I want to train with this person. And then after a week or 2 of doing that, you will have a bond with that dog that you never thought was possible when you started today. And after a month, the seeds are growing. And then before you know it, 6 months down the line, they're established. And that dog is completely and utterly tuned into you. But there's never a shortcut with dog training. There's never a shortcut with training somebody. You've got to start from the foundations. You cannot build a house unless you've got solid foundations. If you shortcut on the foundations, the walls will crack. You'll have to knock them down and redo the foundations. But so many people, especially us men, want to do the fun stuff too quickly rather than set the foundations. Most of my champion winning dogs retire around 8 years old, and I give them to very, very good friends, family friends, and they have them. It's hard for me to do, but it's a better life for them probably. And they go to them and they say when they get to 12, 14, they're still trained then. They still turn on the whistle, they still listen, they still do as they're told. Because I've set the foundations, it's solid for a decade plus. But if I let them do it the other way, which I have done multiple times, it doesn't bloody work.
No, I'm seeing that. Well, Ben, I've been a fan of yours. I think maybe I heard you on the Jeremy Moore podcast.
Yeah, I think so. I think it went on with the Bowman chap. Yeah.
And I've followed Jeremy for a while. Knew him from a few years back, and actually he and I just released. He's been on this podcast too.
Yeah. Jeremy had the app and learned and was learning that sort of thing, and I went on and spoke to him about it. It was really cool, lovely chat.
Yeah, and he, he and I have shared a lot of the same training ideas, and I've picked his brain in the past. He helped me train a dog and actually trained a dog for me shortly for a while to kind of help me be a better trainer. But anyway, so I'm so glad to have had you on here, and I've been really impressed with everything I've read that you've put out. I've been on your app. I've seen some of your videos, obviously not near enough, and I really believe in what you're doing. So hopefully I'll get to come back to the IGL this year. Of course, I've heard it's in Scotland, but I got to go back in November. It was my first time at a field trial in the UK, and I just had a ball. Yeah,
well, if you want to come over and experience some of the spaniels, then
yes.
And then come on over. You can come and shoot over my dogs. You'd love that. Yeah,
January. I would absolutely love that.
January is a great time for spaniels. The cover's down, lots of woodcock, hares, rabbits, everything. It's that's when my South Africans come over. They loved it. The Europeans they like to come over in January and try to do the championships and some shooting as well.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it. Well, Ben, it was a pleasure having you again. If you don't mind, tell the guests how they can find your products, your apps, your website.
Yeah, so Instagram and Facebook, really easy. Just type in Ben Randall, Beggar Bush Gundogs, you'll find it. Go onto the App Store and just type in Gundog app, and we're one of the first apps. I think it was the world's first app anyway. So just go onto that, and you'll be able to download the app. And once you've downloaded it, then you just subscribe to it. And again, let's say Facebook, Instagram is really good. I post loads and loads and loads of videos on Facebook and Instagram. So just go onto that and type in my name on Facebook, and you'll find me. And I'll allow you to follow me, and then you can see all the things we do. It's really powerful. The book, you just got to go on to Gundog Journal, which is I'm field editor for Gundog Journal, and field edit. They help me publish a book. And we've got an exciting new project starting. When I've got time for this, I don't know, but we've already started it. My next book is going to be a really advanced book on judging, shooting, and advanced dogs to really show you, the first book for me, my debut book is covers everything, but this book is going to really deep dive into, all my psychology, how I get the best out of individual dogs, talk about dogs I've owned and problems and issues I've had, I've overcome them. It's going to be a very different type of book, but one that I'm extremely excited about writing. Although I just don't know where to start at the moment, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Well, I can't wait till that comes out. But I'm sure you've got a lot of irons in the fire yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty busy. But yeah, very excited. Very excited.
Well, Ben, thank you so much. Maybe we'll get you back on here when that new book comes out and talk about that. Anyway, I thank you for being a guest, and I thank all my listeners, and we will be in touch.
Thank you, Ken. Take care.
Purina Pro Plan. Here at Gundog Nation, we use Purina Pro Plan for our dogs. We actually use the Sport Performance Edition, which is 30% protein and 20% fat, the beef and bison. It contains glucosamine, omega-3s for their joints. It also contains amino acids for muscles and antioxidants. And it also has probiotics. It's guaranteed to have live probiotics in each serving. There's no artificial colors or flavors. We see the difference in our dogs. We see the difference in their coat, their performance, their endurance, and also in recovery. Be sure to use Purina Pro Plan dog food. The reputation speaks for itself. There's a reason that Purina has been around for such a long time. We suggest that you use it, and we are so proud to be sponsored by Purina Dog Food.